Welcome to Title Talks, the show where you can spend some time with the most influential people in the title industry while they share their insight on everything from making your operation more efficient, the latest technology, sales and marketing strategy, hot topics, and more. Before we begin, here are some of the top headlines circulating the title and real estate industries this week. The real estate world is buzzing with news from a recent settlement from the National Association of Realtors. The trade group promised to make policy changes to the cooperative compensation arrangement, which is the industry standard 6% commission split between the seller's and buyer's agent that is often paid by the seller. Meant to lower costs for consumers, the biggest change is that sellers could decline to pay the buyer's agent fee and encourage them to negotiate the compensation for their listing agents. The concern for real estate agents here is that buyers may choose not to hire an agent at all, but experts say it will weed out lower performing agents or make flat rate fee models more popular. After Biden's February State of the Union address called on eliminating title insurance premiums as a means to make an impact on home affordability, the title industry has been reeling. House Republicans wrote a letter voicing concerns to the Federal Housing Finance Agency about the title insurance waiver pilot program. They argue that this type of change should not be taken lightly and requires far more research. This follows a similar statement from the Mortgage Bankers Association and the American Land Title Associations, insinuating that the motivations for the pilot are political and ineffective when it comes to addressing affordability issues. Finally, housing starts in February saw the biggest gain in 9 months, and permits are at their highest level since August. Both are hopeful signs of a recovery for the housing market. If you want more on these headlines, be sure to follow the link in the podcast description. Now to the episode. Today we have an energetic guest who is passionate about marketing, technology, and bringing the title industry forward. Sam Trimble recently joined Fidelity, and today he's sharing the 3 areas in your business you need to focus on, whether you're running an agency that's big or small, that will carry you into the future. Title Talks is a production of PropLogix. At PropLogix, we help thousands of title companies, large and small, free up time by taking due diligence tasks like lien searches, title searches, tax certificates, and release tracking off your plate. Spending less time on these repetitive tasks means you can handle more closings, spend more time with your customers, and focus on acquiring new business. Plus, you can have additional peace of mind knowing we're in your corner with highly trained researchers and quality assurance teams. We care about the growth and success of your company. That's why we make this podcast. To see all our services, find the link in the podcast description. Now, let's start the show. I'm Lindsay Gordon, and this is Title Talks. By Sam Trimble. He is the Vice President of Strategic Growth and Development at Fidelity, and we're really excited to have him on the Title Talks podcast. Hello, Sam.
Hey, Lindsay. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about some pillars that you really should be focusing on to help future-proof your title company going forward. And we want to know a little bit more about you, Sam, your journey in the title industry and what brought you to Fidelity. And then you can let us know a little bit about what you're doing there with that organization.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks again, Lindsay and Becky and everybody at PropLogix for having me. I appreciate it. So I kind of just woke up in the industry one day. I think that's kind of what happens to everybody. Nobody knows quite how they got there. But once you get pulled in, you're just never going to get out. And so I graduated college, became a real estate agent at like the worst possible time in like November 2007, right before it hit the fan. So, but I think that was a good learning experience for me. If you can survive and thrive in that, then you can do anything, had some great mentors along the way. In 2014, so it hasn't been all that long, 10 years ago, I decided to leave real estate. I got tired of my income being dependent on other people doing their jobs, right? And so I had several deals fall apart and didn't want to have to ask my mom or my buddies to borrow any more money. So I decided to get into pharmaceutical device sales And so I'm like, so I was going
Oh,
to do,
that's different.
yeah, I was going to do trauma device for Stryker actually. And I decided I was going to take this job, leave real estate, had been doing lobbying and all kinds of stuff for NAR. And then I decided I was going to leave. And I got an email from the guy who owned the title company with whom I did most of my business. And he said, "Hey, let's go to lunch." And I just happened to get that email. We went to lunch and I told him what I was going to do. And he, said, you're going to leave all your relationships and all this stuff and leave the industry and go do something totally different. And I was like, yep. And then the next morning, I woke up with an offer letter in my email to be the director of corporate communications and business development or something like that with Lone Star Title Company, a regional title company in Texas and New Mexico. And that's how I got into business. And I was with them for a handful of years and became a partner on some real estate stuff with them and worked my way up to a leadership role and then had a whole life reset. And I had 11 underwriters when I was with Lone Star, which is insane.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. We got up to 13, I think, at one point because of a few commercial deals. But at 11 underwriters, knew a bunch of them, and one of them had reached out to me, a guy named Justin Tucker, who's absolutely my mentor in this business. I think one of the greatest sales and marketing minds anywhere, but especially in our space. And he convinced me to come on board with originally with WFG National Title, and was there for about 3 years, learned a ton from them, and then was really, really excited to start talking to Rich Canan at Fidelity National Financial. And sure enough, everything worked out. And now I'm really excited to be with the largest title insurance underwriter in the world. And they're family of companies, and it's an incredible place. And we're doing a lot of cool stuff and have the resources and the human capital to do it. And so I think it's a great time to be in our industry, and selfishly, I think it's a wonderful time to be a part of the FNF family of companies. So there's a lot of exciting stuff happening. So that's kind of how I got here. Yeah,
Okay, very cool.
yeah,
So what right now, you're everywhere. I feel like everywhere I turn. Obviously, I think that says a lot to like Fidelity's resources and what they're able to do. But what is it that you really like about what you're able to do now, that you've been in the industry and you kind of made a name for yourself?
I think in my former role, part of my little tickle. In my former role, we ran some reports. There's a really great platform that helps you kind of generate online reviews and aggregate those or whatever. And we ran through those, and we ran like a keyword search. And so we ran all the reviews leading up to the pandemic, right? So like up to like February 2020, and then from March or April 2020 all the way to basically currently. And you saw that the keywords changed from like very transactional, transaction, property instead of house, timelines, you know, signatures, paperwork, everything was a very transactional keyword in all of their reviews. And then you went to like the pandemic time moving forward, and everything was very experiential. It was like how the experience, feeling like they were part of a team. They called it a home instead of a property, right? Like everything became how people were made to feel. And so I say that because I think as we sit here in the first quarter, the end of the first quarter of 2024, I think the opportunity is that people say it different ways. Like everyone's been saying like back to basics. And I'm like, I hate that term at this point because freaking everybody says it all the time. But that said, what most people mean, I think, when they're saying that is we have gone back to a feeling economy. Like this is a relationship business. We've always said that. Every business is a relationship business. I mean, we're
Sure,
not
yeah.
special because of that. But what's happened is we've gone back to this feeling economy, and people are more concerned about how they're made to feel and the experience they have, and less concerned about even cost or price point. And so it's an awesome time to be here because we're going back to these basics of like human engagement and interaction, like lifting other people up, helping people to have a wonderful experience, helping them to be seen and heard and feel like they matter because they do, realizing that all of us are in this together. I talked about this on a podcast recently. My buddy Bo in Pioneer in Arizona, shout out to Bo. And I went on this diatribe because you can spin it however you want. Like you can say, without realtors, buyers won't be represented, listings won't be represented, no one will know what to do with the contracts, and closings may never happen. Without lenders, buyers can't buy, sellers can't sell if there's no money, and the American dream falls apart. Without title, lenders won't lend, right? So without title insurance, lenders won't lend. If lenders won't lend, buyers can't buy, sellers can't sell. The American dream comes to it. Like, right? You can go through this, and when you go through an exercise like that, you realize that like everyone matters, everyone has a
Yeah,
seat at the table. We all need to be
it's an
moving the same
ecosystem.
direction. Exactly. Like we have this incredible ecosystem that um, we need to respect and appreciate one another and recognize that like literally it all falls apart without all of us. So it's an exciting time to be around because I think we're all, we have a short-term memory in this country and in this world. We forget, wars and famines and tragic events, and we forget the good times, and we just kind of like have a very short-term memory. But for now, we're still somehow living in this space where we're learning to appreciate what we have, especially in this industry. And so I'm excited, long story short, because we're going back to what really matters, which is finding ways to help one another, finding ways to work together, using technology to bridge some of those gaps and actually close the divide between the haves and have nots. That's what's cool about technology, right? Like, you know, and even AI and all this stuff, like a company that a few years ago could never have afforded to have a full-time marketing crew and content curation and graphic design and all that stuff can use some of these tools. Half of them are free to like compete with the big boys, and which is cool. Like it is awesome to level that playing field. And so it's a great time to be in this industry. It's a great time to be in business in general, and it's a great time to be alive because we're recognizing that each other matters, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. So I think it's less of the Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross style, like always be closing, coffee is for closers. And it's more like, hey, I'm really excited to have this relationship. How can I help you? And that's a fun place to be.
That's awesome. I love that. So we're gonna really hone in on to like the three areas in your business that you should be focusing on. That's really gonna carry you through. I really like what you said about like technology and just kind of a more of awareness of like how people want to be treated, how customers want to have their experience is like really allowing us to kind of focus a little bit more and close that gap, between the have and have nots. I think the smaller companies have always been really good at having that personalization, sort of approach, but now like these tools are allowing them to scale in a way that they've never really been able to, which is really awesome. So we're talking about three pillars. Let's quickly go over what those three pillars are, and then we'll dive into each of them.
Okay, cool. Well, I had kind of jotted down some thoughts on a few different things. One of them kind of being online reputation, customer experience, and then technology for the most part. I think you know, as I go around the country talking, I start to realize that those are kind of the three main pillars, in my opinion. So if you want to start kind of talking a little bit about brand recognition and online rep, I'm definitely down for that.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, okay, for your online reputation. So, like, what exactly? Oh, how do you figure out what yours is, yeah, and like how to improve it? If you have nothing, like, where are you starting from?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great tools out there. I mean, the first and most obvious step is to, Google yourself, like figure out what's out there. And I know that sounds kind of super, um, basic and intuitive, but a lot of us haven't done that anytime recently. And so, and if we haven't scrolled down. So like, it's not just what Google says, like what does Glassdoor say? Like, does Glassdoor say this is a great place to work and you feel, cared for and appreciated, or does it say something negative? And if so, like, is there something you can do to learn from that and potentially rectify it? And so I think the first thing is that there's a lot of really cool tools out there for SEO stuff and brand recognition. There's a site called Your Vaunt, Yourvaunt, and that's a great place to start. Put in your business name and potentially the address on the website, and it'll scrape the internet and let you know kind of where everything is, what's out there, and if there's consistency or not. So I think the baseline, is if it was the 12-step program, it'd be like, okay, admitting you have a problem. If it's brand recognition, it's like, okay, who am I online? And my buddy Nick Mallory with Elysian Brewing, really incredible marketer and brand strategist, says that your marketing is what gets you customers. Your branding is what keeps your customers, right? So like I love that, and so your online reputation is the baseline. it's a really important baseline, but it's a baseline. And so I think the first thing is figuring out where you are and what's out there, and then figuring out how to hone in on where you can fix things. And the cool thing is with a little bit of time, effort, energy, and sometimes a teeny bit of money, but usually you don't even need to spend any money. You can really create an online reputation that's pretty robust.
I think another important thing to remember about that, it's like, that there people have probably said things about your company whether or not you're aware of it, like, and so it's like, oh, well, we have a website, but we don't do social media. We don't, like, so why, or how would people say anything about us? Like, people can actually like review your company on Google, even if you didn't set up a Google My Business like that. Like, that's, I would say that's why it's so important for people to be aware of what exists, because it's probably there. You just may not have any idea that it is.
Yeah, 76% of consumers make decisions based on social media and online reputation and trust it more than their friends and family. Right? Like if you knew my friends, you'd know why. Like I trust Google more than I trust my friends. Like and so at the end of the day, like people are actually making these very serious purchasing decisions based on what they see in a split second. And think about it, right? All right, Lindsay, we're at Alta One. We're looking for a place to go have dinner tonight. We're feeling like, what are we feeling like? Maybe a little Italian tonight, something a little heavy. All right, cool. I Google Italian restaurant near me. 5 come up. One has 1,500 reviews. One has about 20 reviews, and the others have 3 or 4 reviews. It's so obvious where you're going, right? It's so obvious. And so consumers are making decisions not just about where they eat, they're checking up on the people making decisions for them, right? So something that I used to do is I'd talk about brand management and online reputation to my clients to let them know, hey, Lindsay Realtor, when you tell one of your clients you're going to that you recommend my title company, I know you're putting your reputation on the line. So I want you to know that we've invested a lot of time and effort into making sure that when your clients check up on where you sent them, they know you sent them to the right place, right? Like I always have these conversations with people, and I'm like, okay, well, what makes your title company different? And they're like, oh, it's our customer service, for sure. It's got to be. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, literally everyone says that, and that may very well be the case, right? Like you're responsive, you have wonderful offices, you got experienced people that take care of people, you treat them like family. That may very well be the case, but literally everyone says that. What if you were to say, if you were to work on Google, throw some QR codes in the closing rooms that direct to Google, request reviews, maybe use something like Bird Eye or get 5 stars or something like that to generate a bunch of reviews. And what if when somebody asks you what makes you guys different, if you were able to say, I personally think it's our customer experience for all of those reasons. However, don't take my word for it. Take our clients and customers' words. Google us
Here's
and see for
proof. Yep.
yourself. Right? Like so you actually have some social proof here rather than these like theoretical, hypothetical, like, platitudes that everybody speaks on. And so, there's some really cool ways to do it. And I think when I start talking about online reputation, there's 2 different types of title companies and real estate attorneys. The ones that say, "Oh yeah, we're big into that," and that know the value, and the ones that are like, "Sam, we're a title company. We get directed business from other people. Consumers don't even know what we do or who we are."
Yeah.
And and then or maybe geographic restrictions. So I always use the case of a title company I worked with in the Hamptons. I think of the Hamptons, and the average price point is like 2.5 million on the low end, and so these are people that have like life managers that are making decisions for them, looking at the houses. They're not even seeing them half the time. Somebody else is handling the transaction, all this stuff. And so the company was like, I don't know that this really matters, but we'll try it. They were open to it. So we tried it. We started getting some reviews. And then sure enough, I get a text, and I have a screen grab of this in the presentation I give from the business development officer, kind of the right-hand woman of the owner of this company, Hampton Title Company in the Hamptons. And she's like, dude, we just got a call from an attorney in Texas that had a client here that's sending us like a $5 million refi because they Googled and they saw a review. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
so in
Wow.
the Hamptons, $5 million, doesn't know somebody, and Google brought that $5 million refi policy. So, I mean, if it can work in the Hamptons, then you think it could work in little old El Paso, Texas, or Colorado Springs, or whatever. Absolutely, it can. So, but having a strategy behind that, I think, is really important.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's a good point because it's like, I think you had mentioned in our chat before we met today, was that like people are really kind of trying to focus on local, and it's like it's really easy to say like, oh well, yeah, we are, people refer us, like we aren't really, dealing with directly with consumers, and not, and feel like, well, why would I need online, a website and reviews if I'm just dealing with local people. I think it's hard to see the connection, I think, for some people, that it's like that it's super important because people are going to be looking, even if they are down the street and you're the title company that they drive by all the time. They're still going to be looking into, your presence online.
And think about the ripple effect of something like that, the opportunities that it creates. Not only do I have a different conversation when someone asks, like, what makes you different, but in my marketing and advertising, I also would get to say the most highly rated title company in the tri-state area, right? If I am, or the most highly rated company on the west side or in town or whatever it might be, and you can actually prove it. And so, I think it's really important. And well, my little microsite, risingtidementality.com, I have a little playbook that I made that's for title companies, 5 steps to generate reviews for free. And so go take it and do it and let me know how it goes, because it will go well, right? Like I know it will work, and you will start getting deals in the door that you would not have gotten otherwise, especially in a time like now. Yes, we have a ton of equity, but it's still a strange market. So we have a lot of people trying to cut corners and save money, and maybe they're trying to go straight to the title company. And if they're not doing that, they're certainly more educated consumers than than we've ever had. So if Lindsay Realtor tells Sam Seller, "Hey, I've got a great relationship with this company. I'd recommend them, but you can go wherever you'd like." They're going to Google that company and wonder why Lindsay's sending them there. When they Google that company and they see, oh, this is the most highly rated company, they're like, okay, Lindsay's making great decisions for me. So it's really kind of good for everybody, and there is a tremendous ripple effect when it comes to generating high levels of online reviews and stuff. Not just Google. You can sign up as a title company on lots of other websites, including Zillow, and most of them you can do that for free, and you can generate reviews there as well. So I kind of want to be everywhere in that way, and most of them are totally free. So why would you not be doing it?
Yeah, 100%. So to transition, obviously in order to get good reviews, you want to make sure that your customer experience is really top notch. So talk about why that's so important in terms of a place to focus on for your business.
Yeah, I think the Amazon effect is real, And so I love my dog, Alexander Hamilton. If you follow me on social, you've seen the Daily Ham. He's the man. I had to shut the store right now to make sure that we had a nice quiet time here, because he likes to play, especially when I'm doing a podcast or on a webinar, which is the best.
Just knows.
He just knows. He just knows. He's the man. So, if I go to Amazon, I buy a dog bone. I probably get 5 or 6 pieces of communication about that dog bone. Congratulations on the purchase of your dog bone, number 1. Number 2, your dog bone has shipped. Number 3, it's stuck in Dallas because of bad weather. Number 4, it's going to be delivered today. Number 5, it's on your doorstep. Number 6, did Hamilton like his dog bone? If so, would you leave us a review? And by the way, if you'd like to get another one, we'll give you 50% off. I got 6 pieces of communication about a $9 dog bone off Amazon. Number 1 complaint of home buyers and home sellers in America, according to NAR, miscommunicate or lack of communication. They didn't know what was happening, right? I buy a $9 dog bone, I get 6 points of communication. I buy a $500,000 house, or I sell my home for the first time, and the number 1 complaint is, I didn't really know what was going on. So rather than comparing ourselves internally, we're really good at that in the real estate business. Realtors compare themselves to each other. Lenders do the same thing. In the title space, we do the same thing. I think we should be comparing ourselves to businesses outside of our industry. So what kind of experiences are other people creating, right? And so maybe it's as simple as, one thing that I did back in my Lone Star days is we created what then we needed an order entry department to do this. So we had 2 full-time people doing this that would send out a confirmation email a la Amazon. It was nice. It looked good. I saw it recently, and it's like, dang, 7 years flies. This looks horrible now. Like, it's so dated, but like,
Yeah.
the one that we created then. But at the time, it looked really streamlined, a few bullet points of what to expect, and there was a video with the escrow officer. Hey, my name is Sam Trimble. I'm an escrow officer here at XYZ Title Company. Congratulations on the sale or purchase of your home. I just wanted to put a face with a name. If there's any questions that come up along
Wow. Yeah.
the process, right below is my contact information and my incredible assistant Maggie's contact information. Please reach out to her with any questions. And in the meantime, to be most convenient for you, there's actually a list of frequently asked questions right below, and there may be a video to answer your question right away. Congratulations again, and we look forward to meeting you at the closing table. Right, so it's a 30-second video, puts a face with a name. It does a few things. That FAQ library, we pulled all of our staff and we're like, all right, what are the 5 questions you guys are wasting the biggest amount of time answering over and over and over again? We made videos with our own staff about those 5 questions, which did a couple things. One, we won some time back, the most valuable resource that we have for our entire staff, because we weren't answering as many calls and emails about the same things. But 2, we created a better customer experience because our clients had access to those questions whenever they wanted them. It was still our face, it was still our voice, it still had our logo on it, but we didn't have to spend the 15 minutes on the phone. And more importantly, they didn't have to spend the 15 minutes on the phone. And so we actually, when's the last time you called customer service of a company, a cell phone company or whatever, and we're like glad you had to do it? Never.
Never.
I never want to do that. So when we realized that, we were like, dude, this is like, we're killing a bunch of birds with one stone. And so not only did that create a better customer experience off the bat, but the level of, it is a stressful thing to buy or sell real estate. It's emotional in many cases. It's the biggest sale or purchase of most people's lives. There's a lot going on in our heads when we're going through that. And so people can get a little overwhelmed and sometimes get a little frustrated. The chance of them getting very frustrated with black words on a white screen is super high. The chances of them seeing Lindsay's face, hearing her voice, putting a face with the name, being able to look at them through a video and introduce themselves, the chances of them getting that frustrated goes down dramatically. So the amount of anxious phone calls or even angry or slightly upset phone calls drop dramatically as well. And so it's like, it could be something as simple as that. And should it be like a few along the way? Congratulations, title's cleared. Here, we're going to schedule closing. Congratulations, the deed has been filed or whatever, maybe 4 or 5. Yeah, maybe. And I think so. But start with one. Start with an order confirmation that looks really good, right? Like, and now, at that time, we hired 2 full-time people to do order entry and get these things out. I dreamed in that moment, man, we would get things in 27 different PDFs and formats, and one of them was a JPEG from a cell phone, and I couldn't read it and all that stuff. And I was like, man, imagine if somebody could just throw everything into a single PDF and send it to us, and it could just be automatically put into our production software. That was only a few years ago that I was like, oh my gosh, can you imagine? That's 100% reality now,
Yeah.
So the ability to be able to do these things quicker for less money and more effectively is here. Like, we have no excuse not to be talking to the Alana AIs of the world and all of these incredible vendors that have products that can streamline and create a better customer experience. And like I said, we are not as price conscious as we think we are. The 2 biggest segments of home buyers and home sellers, baby boomers just took over again, by the way, after 2023 because of their amount of equity. But millennials are still right there, just right on their tail. And so, a millennial, like, like Birchbox and Sprezabox and BarkBox and all these like subscription programs.
Yeah.
I have BarkBox for Hamilton. It's like $50 a month. They put bacon or something on the outside of the box, and you can literally see it sometimes, like it's kind of greasy. And I'm like, okay, that's what it must be, because he freaks out as soon as it gets here. But he freaks out. He's so excited. I open it. There's 2 toys, 2 treats, a thank you note. And I could get those 2 toys and those 2 treats at Marshall's, Ross, or TJ Maxx for probably like a total of $15. But I pay $50 because my dog gets excited. There's some branding behind it. It makes me feel good to make him excited and feel good. And it's an experience. And this is coming from somebody who's a total cheapskate, right? But I do it because I'm willing to pay for the experience. So people are less price conscious than they are excited to have a wonderful experience. So whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's a menu when somebody walks into your office, instead of saying, hey, the sodas and the coffee's over there, what if you handed them a branded menu and said, is there anything that I can get you to eat or drink while you wait? right? That's very different than like, oh, hey, Lindsay, how's it going? Congratulations. There's a Coke machine over there if you want, right? It's the same thing. I'm
Yeah.
offering the same coffee that may or may not be great and the same sodas and Sam's Club water, but by handing you a menu, I've turned it into a different experience. So it's all of those little things at the same time that our goal should be to have somebody walk out and be like, wow, that was different. I've done that before and it wasn't like that. That was different and I like that. And
Hmm.
so there's a lot of ways to do that, obviously.
Yeah, I think improving communication is so important because people feel so much more comfortable with the decisions that they've made when they know what's going on. I think that's just like that's part of consumers being savvier than they ever have been. It's kind of like I think historically it feels like the real estate transaction and deal is going on in the background and I'm just, sitting here on the sidelines like waiting for someone to ask me for something or say, you need to sign this or we need this from you. So it's like, feeling like you're part of the actual thing. It makes it a lot easier to kind of get an idea of like who these people are that are working for you, where your money's going, and what the entire process. I think it gives people more peace of mind to kind of know what's going on and not feel like they're just spending a ton of money and they have no idea on what.
Yeah. And sometimes the update is there's no update, right? Like
Yeah.
my real estate career changed when I was still doing that full time when I realized that that was the case. And so every Monday I updated everybody. They didn't know that their realtor or their title company or their lender was doing all kinds of things behind the scenes. And so I'd get these calls and I'm like, why are they so stressed out right now? Like, I've got it under control. And then I was like, dude, they don't know what you're doing right now. It's your job to tell them. So every single Monday, I was calling every single buyer and every single seller, updating them on what was happening. It took me 20 minutes every morning, or maybe 45 minutes if I had a bunch of deals going on every Monday, rather. And then we started doing that as a title company. When we're working on clearing title and stuff, if you don't hear from us, it's because we're plugging away, getting everything sorted on the back end. But just because you haven't heard from us doesn't mean that anything's wrong or that we're not working on your file. So today's update is you don't have to worry yet. There's nothing to update you on. And as soon as there is, we'll absolutely reach out to you. That changed things because there were people calling just saying, hey, I went under contract a week and a half ago. What's happening? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that intro email, that's why that video was so cool too, because a couple of the things were here's of what to expect next. Right? Over the next 7 to 10 days, we're going to be working on clearing title. Over the next 5 days, you'll probably receive a title commitment. And here's the important things to look at, especially in Texas. Schedule C, that's where and we would walk through that stuff in less than a minute. And the other thing about all that is that's interesting when it comes to CX is, wire fraud, massive right now. We were just talking about my buddy's report at Certified that came out this week, and everybody, we are all in that together. I don't care what business you are, we are all fighting this fight together. And what do we do to educate consumers? Flyers, right? We know statistically that 90% of written word is forgotten within a few minutes. So you hand somebody a flyer if you want them to forget it. If you want them to remember it, we should be using video because statistically, the retention rate is 95%, right? So if I want someone to forget something, absolutely throw a flyer at them. If I want them to remember it, we get to kill a bunch of words with one stone. It can be our face and our voice and our logo. We can create an experience, and then they'll also remember what we just told them, right? And so that to me is still funny. And I mean, we all do it, right? We all have these like one pagers on wire fraud and all this stuff, but we also know that like nobody reads them. So I don't know why we keep
Or
doing it.
mile-long email signatures.
Yeah, yeah, and that cracks me up too. Like, when's the last time you scrolled down below somebody's email signature and intently read what was in red bold, and if it was a link, clicked it? Like, I don't know, never, right? Like, but we do that to kind of CYA, not to kind of, see they a, like
Yeah,
we're doing
yeah,
it for
really educate.
ourselves, not
Yeah.
to actually educate and provide a resource to consumers. So that stuff is kind of interesting to me, but I'm seeing the shift too, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think, and with video, depending on like what hosting platform you're using, you can also see if people are watching it, so which is cool. So it's
Yeah.
like you kind of have that confirmation that, people are digesting or seeing the information you're providing.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, in the CYA thing. I mean, a lot of our stuff that we were sending out, we were using BombBomb. So we could show that people watched the quick video on wire fraud. We could show they watched the quick confirmation video. We could track those numbers, see what was working, take a look at the links that weren't getting clicked and make them a little better, and create a wonderful customer experience based on data that our clients and customers didn't even know we were collecting. You know, because it's so simple. So yeah, we should be looking at things like that. A lot of people, my buddy Justin Tucker, kind of my mentor, posted something on Facebook the other day, and it said that a lot of people are data rich, but insights poor. Right? So like they're collecting all this data, and then they really don't know what to do with it, or just don't do anything with it. And so we should be focusing on both insights and data. You know, what does the data tell us? What insight does it give us? And how can we create an experience that's unparalleled? And then you get to advertise that. We create experiences that are unparalleled in our community, right? Like, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. How great to have like the ability to look at what changes you've made and see if they're successful or not. You know, like you've spent time or effort into creating like these videos, or a better experience, and like now you have information that will help you improve on that. And just make it better all the time, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can be so much more than sometimes we are in this industry, especially. This is a massive, incredible industry that, like, don't tell anybody else in the real estate space, but honestly is the bedrock of the American dream. Without title insurance, lenders will not lend, period. So as long as that is the case, buyers will not be able to buy, sellers will not be able to sell, and it literally will come to a screeching halt, at least in the residential space, which is the foundation of the American dream. So like, walk around with a chip on your shoulder. We are in an incredible business at an incredible time with all the resources in the world, the brain power that you see in this space right now with all of these different companies, including yours, including mine, including our competitor. Like, it's amazing. And so if we take a second to be like, oh my gosh, like, one, we're kind of important. Two, our clients and customers need us, and we need to protect them in today's world. And then three, it's easier than ever to level that playing field and act big. Like, you want to act big, you got to think big. 86% of Fortune 500 CEOs say that AI is a mainstay of the future of their business. So in the real estate space, we should be thinking, you know what, we got to figure out how to use this stuff to create a better experience, give back a little bit of time to our people. Enough lunch breaks have been missed, enough after hours, overtime hours have been required. Let's see if we can find some time and give it back to our own team and do what really matters, which is hang out with family and friends and people that we love and that love us, anyway.
Yeah, that's how you make it sustainable. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, you mentioned AI. We want to talk about technology as the final pillar. What, we can talk about AI, but are there other technologies right now that people should really be focused on for their businesses?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an incredible time to be in the business. We teased out a little bit that it's possible now using, artificial intelligence to take one file, examine it, and put it where it needs to be in your production software so that your staff is taking 2 minutes to make sure everything's right rather than 25 minutes to open a new order. There's a good start. Like, that would have been a dream of mine 7 or 8 years ago, right? Think of that. If it's 2 minutes to double check what's been put in is correct, and say normally it's 18 or it's 20 minutes, that's 18 minutes per file that somebody is winning back. What are they doing? Maybe they're taking lunch. Maybe they're actually like taking a break that day, which, I mean, if you've ever worked in a title agency, that is like few and far between.
Yeah.
So it's, starting there, moving into the customer experience space. Some of these really intuitive artificial intelligence chatbots are pretty incredible. You hear the word chatbot and it sounds like kind of negative and impersonal. But when you start thinking of it as a 24-hour-a-day assistant that provides instant feedback in a relatable and seemingly like personable type of way, it's really incredible what can happen here. Like, somebody is curious how much money they need to bring to the closing table. They chat something like Alana and say, hey, what do I need to bring to closing? Alana knows exactly what it's talking about and tells them the exact amount and who the check needs to be made out to and what certified funds means. right? And they got that at 10 o'clock at night, the night before closing, because they couldn't sleep because they were stressed about that. And obviously, like, I don't want to be having my team or myself answering emails at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday night. And so, like, not only did you create a better customer experience there, you gave them access to information when they wanted it. You also didn't have to deal with that 10 p.m. phone call. And so I think some of that stuff is really cool. And then there's obviously a ton of like marketing and sales things that are great. I hear probably two or three out of every five people talking about AI act like this quote is theirs, and they say, AI won't take your job, but people who use AI will. Well, for the record, that was from a Harvard Business Journal article about a year ago. So if you've ever heard anybody say that, and they're like, I was thinking the other day that AI won't take your jobs, but people who use AI will take, like, they stole that. Just FYI, I don't know why that got to me. I saw like 5 videos in the last 2 weeks of people claiming that that was like their like monumental thought. But anyway, but I think it's true. So like nobody in our space needs to be overly concerned that they're going to lose their job to AI. But if you considered AI an army of interns, like rather than artificial intelligence, let's call it an army of interns. And what would you do if you could afford to hire 10, 15, 20 interns to do what would you have them do? What are the things that you would be tasking them with? That is what AI can do for a small business, medium business, or large business. And so it's pretty amazing to be in this time where it's literally changing every day. I subscribe to two things. One is the AI tool report. Every single day it comes in my mailbox in the morning around 7. It has 5 or 6 new AI tools and a breakdown of what's going on in that space. It takes 5 minutes to read. And then the other one is the marketing and is the AI and tech newsletter from Morning Brew. Again, 5 minute read. This is what's going on in the area, and there's a lot of tools that I've seen recently that are incredible. If you're not using some of the AI tools on Canva to help create content, you're missing out. If you're not using chat to come up with some marketing plans that you can then tailor to yourself for your team, for the year, even if you're having an event. Say you're having a real estate event, you're having some realtors and lenders come to your office, someone's coming in to speak. What if you went into chat and said, give me a 6-week go to market plan to promote an internal event meant to create realtor relationships, and we're a title company putting on the event, and we're excited to show off our new office. It's going to come up with a 6-week marketing plan that you can then tailor that would take you a bunch of time to sit down and come up with. So something as simple as that, let alone content and all that kind of stuff. Video is huge. What are you using for that? There's something like Synthesia where you could have an AI uh, avatar deliver messages for you. There's something like Lumen 5 where you could dump in a URL of a cool article that you liked that you want to, get out to people. We learned if you post that link, if someone reads it, they're going to forget 90% of it. What if you took that link to that article from Housing Wire or Inman or wherever and dropped it in Lumen 5, it automatically creates a 45-second video breaking down that article, and then you give credit, and now you have a video, and somebody remembers 90% of it, right? It was free, took me 30 seconds, and it's a video that has never existed on planet Earth before until that moment. And so there's no excuse not to be doing some of that stuff, and I could go on a lot about some of the AI tools that are out there right now. But at the end of the day, I've met with thousands of realtors and hundreds of title companies, equating to thousands of title people all around the country. And the difference between the ones that absolutely crush it and the ones that just don't quite get there is the ones that crush it are always trying new stuff. They're stepping out in faith. They're trying new things, right? They realize if they type something wrong into ChatGPT or OpenAI, no one on the other side of the world is going to die because you wrote the wrong thing, right? And so they just try new stuff. So what are those tools? What are those things that maybe would create a better customer experience, give you and your team back a little bit of time for what matters most, and then step out in faith and just try them. And if it doesn't work, the Concord fallacy or that sunk cost fallacy is real. I meet with people all the time that are like, but Sam, we spent 3 years and $100,000 doing this, but it doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work. And so being willing to walk away from something, whether it's a tool a product, a service, a relationship, whatever it is, right? Like being willing to say, you know what, this isn't working, this isn't serving me or my clients or customers anymore. It's time for me to try something different. There's a lot of power in that. And now's the time. If this trickle of business right now is going to become a torrent when rates begin to adjust, now is the time to put a strategy in place to have a great brand online, to have a great customer experience, to leverage some technology to build relationships, not hide behind it. Now's the time to do it because we all know as soon as a refi boom comes and as soon as the market gets super hot again, we won't have time for any of this stuff. And it'll get swept under the rug and we'll have to try again when the market falls apart in 4 to 7 years. You know, like so so now's kind of the time to experiment a little bit and see what's out there. And I'm always around too. I like nerd out about all these new products and vendors and stuff. So if anybody ever wants to pick my brain about something, I usually have sat on some meeting or webinar or something.
I was just gonna add that, like, with, if you're not taking the time to put strategies in place and like really kind of put tools in place to really make your business more efficient, you're just kind of kicking the can down the road, and you'll never reach scalability until you're able to really win and free up some time.
Yeah, and I think, we have a little PTSD from the last few years because a couple years ago it was that blockchain was going to change the world and the title industry was going to become needless because of blockchain. Well, that didn't quite happen. That will never quite happen, in my opinion. NFTs, for example, like what the hell were we even doing there? Like I'm buying an image. Like I still don't
That's
understand
the
that.
point. I
We
don't
sold,
get it. Yeah.
yeah, we sold the first house in Florida using NFT, and I'm like, well, I mean, it was basically you bought access to something that had all the documents and the deed, and you still had a regular closing, so that makes no sense to me. So we've got PTSD from everyone saying like these things are the future. But
Yeah.
AI, the adoption rate, there were more users on OpenAI than all of social media in like the first 30 days it existed. And the fact that it is continually evolving and learning based on what we feed it and based on what it's finding itself, which is kind of freaky. This is not going away. And rather than it being some big scary thing, this is something that whether you're big or small can absolutely change the way you do business very quickly, almost overnight. And so, if you had told someone years ago, hey, we can give your staff some time back, we can save you some money, and we can make you more productive with a better product, is that of interest to you? Everyone on planet Earth would be like, hell yes. Instead, right now, we have people that are like, I don't know about that. And it seems almost too good to be true. But the future is here, man. And if you don't start ingesting a little bit about it, AI Tool Report, Marketing Brew, Housing Wire, Inman, lots of other cool resources, then there is a chance that it will kind of pass you by. And I don't care whether you're a mom and pop shop in Del City, Texas with one employee or Fidelity National Financial with 25,000. There is a resource having to do with AI and that is out there that will help your business. And so, I would leave one thing. I talked about the Army of Interns. There's a cool resource called Futurepedia online. It is basically a platform where you can search any type of task that you are trying to accomplish, and it will give you a list of the AI tools that could help do that for you, free and paid. So if you're looking to dig in, go to Futurepedia, put in whatever task you're looking to accomplish, and it will serve up a tool to you that will be useful, and try it. And if it works, wonderful. And if it doesn't, drop it like it's hot. Like do not hold on to that.
Mm-hmm.
Become victim of kind of that sunk cost fallacy. But the world is our oyster. I mean, it's pretty amazing where we are, and I would have never thought that we could do some of the things that we can do now just 3 or 4 years ago. So I'm really excited what to see. Let's circle back up in 3 or 4 years, Lindsay, and talk again, and I'm sure it'll be a totally different conversation.
Totally different. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing all like these pillars and where people can really be focusing in their business. How do people follow along with you and kind of follow what you're doing?
Yeah, so I have a little microsite. I'm a big fan of the saying, a rising tide raises all ships, and I firmly believe that we're all in this together. So you can head to risingtidementality.com. I have some resources there. I'd love to connect on social and whatnot. But more than anything, when we realize we're all in this together, wherever you work, whatever you do, whatever part of the industry you're in, like it takes all of us rowing the same direction for wonderful things to happen. So I'd love to connect with people at risingtidementality.com.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Sam. We appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
For any resources mentioned in this episode, check out the description for a link to our show notes. Thanks again for Sam Trimble for chatting with us. If you're looking for a vendor partner that will help you scale and grow your title operation, PropLogix is here to help. Learn more about our time-saving services by visiting proplogix.com/services. Until next time, happy closings.